Sales. Why is sales so important? You know, one of the things that we've learned is this, and you guys will know this, we spoke about it earlier, is that, yeah, sales equals income, yeah? Does that make sense? So the better you sell, the better you earn. The better you sell, the better you earn. That's why the likes of Robert Kiyosaki and those guys say sales is the most important skill in business and in life, because it's about what we can earn. What is it that we can create? What can we have? So in your business, what happens when you're not selling is you're not earning. What happens to your business if you don't earn? It dies. So what happens is sales equals income, income equals life. The better you sell, the better you earn, the better you earn, the better you live. Does that make sense? And on the other side, sales equals income, income equals life. The worse you sell, the worse income you create, the worse you live. And exactly, in your business, when you run out of money, what happens? Your business dies. So sales is a critical component to building a business. So for me, it stands to reason that not only is sales something that sales reps do or business owners do in order to generate income, sales is something that we should be good at doing in life in general. Why? You see, in business, income is denoted by money, isn't it? Yep. So income is denoted by money. But what about in a business partnership? What is the income you want to get out of a business partnership? Why do many business partnerships break up? Okay, so part of it is communication, but probably a bigger reason than that. A breakdown in what? Trust. A breakdown in trust. So one of the things that I've observed with many business partnerships, one of the things I've observed with business partnerships that I've had that haven't worked is a breakdown in trust. So when you're out selling, when you're out communicating, when you're out doing what you're doing in a business partnership, the income that you want to build is trust. And if you're not getting that income and trust breaks down, what happens to that partnership? It dies. Now, what about with a married couple, for example? What about with maybe a husband and a wife? What is the income that a wife wants? Attention. So and another word for attention that a wife wants is what? Maybe money. How many of you realize that sometimes, and when you see it today, there's, especially with younger women, they're out selling in order to get a guy that has lots of, but it doesn't work because at the end of the day they don't get love. And would it be fair to say that the income that a woman wants is love? Yes? They want to feel loved. What's the income that a man wants? Someone says, well, it doesn't matter what your little voice is saying. If that's what you were thinking, it all comes down to respect. Men want to be respected. Does that make sense? That when you're in a relationship with anyone, we want to create a sense of respect. So when I'm out as a man and I'm communicating I'm selling to my wife, is she feeling loved and am I feeling respected in return? Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter what you do in life, there's always an income that comes back. It could be in your personal life, in your life with your kids, in your business, in terms of what is the income that you're getting. And I've learned this in life, that the better you sell, the better you earn. The better you sell, the better you earn. The better you earn, the better you live. Which, as I said just now, stands to reason that sales is a life skill. So I'm going to encourage you that if you have children, and if you want to teach them, I believe, a critical skill for creating a difference in life, teach them how to sell. You know, I have two daughters, and there's a couple of things that I really am focusing on teaching them. Do I want them to get a good education and go to school? Yes. If they so choose that they want to go to university, that'll totally be their choice. You know, I'm not the type of person that's going to force them to go to university. You know, for me, if they decide that that's the route they want to go, no problem. But there's two critical things that I want to teach them. One is I want to teach my kids how to verbally communicate, how to sell, how to connect with other human beings by word of mouth. My personal belief is that those people, the people in the next decade that can speak to other people and connect one-on-one will be a very sought-after resource, especially in the digital age that we're going for. But predominantly, I want to teach my girls that skill, the skill of sales. Can they get out and can they, when they need to, can they sell to other people in order to generate the income that they want? The second thing that I want to teach my girls, or that I'm sort of clear that they need to learn, is numbers. Now, typically not your maths at school that'll allow you to become an engineer. If they want to do that, that's great. But learn the numbers of business, which is financial literacy, and the numbers of being able to add up and become financially literate, because when you're financially literate, you can become financially free. And the language of business comes down to numbers. So when they understand numbers and they understand sales, they can build their life. How many of you can associate with that? They're two critical skills. Learn the language of business, which is the language of numbers, and learn how to communicate with other people, which is the art of sales. You see, we know that that little voice comes up when sales comes up, whatever it is. So if you get a little voice that comes up when it comes up with sales, just change it to this. Communication. But communication of the verbal kind. Am I a good communicator? You see, does it stand to reason that the better you communicate, the better you earn, the better you earn, the better you live? How many realize that good communicators are people that create a difference in their world? People that have a good relationship are good communicators. Often what I see when relationships break down is because of poor communication. So one of the reasons I wrote this book, Sales is a Life Skill, is because I truly believe that every single person needs to learn how to sell. I truly believe that sales should be something that is taught at school. You know, right now, I'm yet to see it, but I still haven't seen sales as a job or as a profession on Careers Day. I'm yet to see sales rep as, you know, as something that's promoted. Yet, how many of us fall into sales based on a whole lot of things? I don't know about you. I became a salesperson because I failed at university. And I failed a couple of times in the tertiary area, and eventually my parents said to me, go find a job. And the easiest job I could find was selling things. I got a job as a car salesman. You know, not that that's easy, but I got a job as a car salesman and I started selling things, and that was over 25 years ago, and I fell into sales. I didn't leave school going, I want to be a salesman. How many of you can associate with that? But how many of you realize that the skill that we need all through life is our ability to sell? You know, we go to university, we get a degree, and after that degree, we want to get a what? We want to get a job. And the strength on your ability to sell your way into the job will depend on how much you're going to earn in your first job. Yet we don't teach people how to sell, how to connect with people, how to get in their world, how to make it all about them. Does that make sense? So, you know, again, sales is a life skill. Are you learning how to sell? As a business owner, just as an individual, as a person, building relationships with other people, communicating with other people, are you equipping yourself to be able to sell? Sales is the number one skill in business and in life. And when you learn how to sell, you can create a whole lot of other things. You know, I've had a number of times in my career, in my business in the last 10 years, where I've been doing really, really well, making money, something happens, poof, downturn. How many of you can associate with that? How many of you know that it happens regularly? But in reality, the one thing that I've been able to do is when there's a downturn in my business, I have the ability to sell. I have the ability to walk, knock on doors, go meet people, and turn on some income in order to be able to keep my business going. And what I see with a lot of small to medium-sized business owners, they don't have that ability. They haven't fostered the ability to be able to sell. So remember this, if you want to create a different life, you have to be able to sell. You have to be able to sell. Sales equals income, income equals life. You've got to be able to sell. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So if sales is so important, it's connecting with other people. How do we connect with other people? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through what we call the relationship triangle. So when it comes to when it comes to building relationships, the very first thing that we need to do is we need to be able to build some, what's it called? Rapport. We need to build some rapport. What is rapport?
How well you get along with somebody.
Okay, good. How well you get on with somebody. Essentially, in order to build rapport, when you build rapport, really what you are trying to uncover is, can you find some common ground? Does that make sense? So whatever you're selling, can you find common ground? You know, if you're selling financial products, if you're in the insurance game, can you find common ground? You know, how many of you just in the last week have had someone phone you, a telesales person phone you, and the very first thing they do is they talk about who? They pick up the phone and they talk about what? They talk about themselves and their product. How many of you immediately are not interested? Does that make sense? Because there's no common ground. So, and they haven't built any rapport. It's one-sided, and immediately you feel this is a one-sided deal. And the only thing they're interested in doing is doing what? Making a sale. Only thing they're interested in doing is making a sale. How interested are you? You're not. You're not interested. So the first step is this, that in order to build rapport, I believe this, that in order to build rapport, in order to be good at sales, you've got to start here, that it's all about them. When you're speaking to someone else, when you're connecting with someone else, when you're selling to someone else, you've got to make it all about them. It's all about who? It's all about who? It's all about them. Okay, so, you know, wherever you're sitting watching this, when I say it's all about them, it's not about you. So I want you to say this. When I say it's all about them, I want you to say it's not about me. It's all about them? It's all about them? Okay, you got that. How many people are out there selling and it's all about me? It's all how good I am, what I do, how great my product is, how great my brand is, why you need me. And we never get in their world and make it all about them. So in order to make it all about them, the very first step is you got to get into their world. When? First. Get into their world first. That means right up front. Right up front you get into their world. So let me give you an example. So some of you younger, well, maybe not even the younger guys, but if I'd have known this when I was younger, I would have been a lot more successful in dating. So how many of you grew up in my era when people used to talk about how snappy the chat up line was and all those type of things? And the reality is the more snappier you had a chat up line, it was all about who? It was all about you. But in observing people, I learned this, that, you know, imagine the scenario, boy meets girl, boy walks up, hey, that's me, you see me in the big suit with the big car outside, that's me. How many women actually truly want a relationship with that? Might be entertaining for a little while. Does that make sense? So remember, dating is selling. However, if you walk up, a boy meets girl, and the guy introduces himself, hi, my name's, I don't know, John. Hi, my name's John. You know, who are you? Where do you come from? What happens if you get into that girl's world first, you start showing some interest, yes? You start making it all about them. What you start doing is building some rapport. And what happens is that rapport, you start finding some common ground. That common ground allows you to start building grounds for a relationship. Does that make sense? It's exactly the same when you're talking to customers. When you walk in, can you make it all about them? Can you connect with them? And the real trick, the real skill is this. Can you ask questions? Can you ask questions? Can you get in their world by asking questions? Now I'm going to take you back to when we talked about results. Remember when we talked about results? Results come from? So results particularly come from our behaviors, yes? So behavior is the effort, the activity. Results come from behaviors, the things that we do. Okay? Results come from behaviors. Behaviors come from attitude and mindset. And attitude and mindset comes from conditioning. How many of you went to school? How many of you at school were encouraged to ask a lot of questions? Would you agree that most people that go to school are encouraged to tell? And we get rewarded at school on how much we can tell and how right we tell, not how many questions we ask. Okay, I was called a pest at school if I asked too many questions. Okay, so we are conditioned for years and years and years to get out and tell. Whereas the key skill that we need to learn in connecting with other people and building relationships is learning how to ask questions. So I know that this is what happens to most people, is when we say you need to learn how to ask questions, what comes up? The little voice that says, but someone asked me something I need to tell. How many of you have ever been in a situation where maybe you had to present to a potential client and the client says, the first thing they say is, what have you come to sell? And what we think is, wow, now it's open. They want to know all about. And we spend 20 minutes, I call it vomiting all over them about how good we are, what we can do, who we are, all that sort of stuff. And we go, tell. And when we get to the end, we say, so you interested? And they say, we'll get back to you. How many of you are tired of that happening? That you're doing a lot of work, you're out there, but you're telling. Why? Because you're not asking questions. You're not conditioned to ask questions. So the art of building rapport, the art of building relationships, the art of connecting with other people is you need to learn how to ask questions. Asking questions is a learned skill. Those of you that have been around me for a little while know that the one thing that I do a lot of is ask a lot of questions. And those of you that do know me also know that I also ask questions in the course of my everyday life. I'll sit down with people and I'll just ask them questions. Why, so how's life going? What's happening? Who are you working with? Why don't you work with this person anymore? What happens? And it's amazing what people are prepared to tell you, and you start finding common ground. Okay, so the first skill in sales is learning how to ask questions. Get in their world. But you're going to need to learn how to do this. You're going to need to learn how to practice. So I'm going to give you a little tool that you can utilize that'll help you to get better at asking questions. So I'm going to ask my good friend Brandon to come up, and he's going to come and he's going to do a little bit of a role play with me. So just on that, why is role play important?
It gives you a scenario to actually preempt what to expect.
Okay, good. So it gives you a scenario on what to preempt, what to expect. Okay, good. So another word for role play is practice, isn't it? So how many of you like sport? How many of you realize that the top professionals practice? Yeah. You know what I see with many salespeople and many business owners? They spend more time practicing their hobby, practicing their golf game, practicing their tennis game, than they do practicing the skills on how to make money. So this is just a little drill. It's a drill or a practice that you can do, and we call it the question game. I learned this from my mentor, Blair Singer, and I've taught it to many people, but I play this with my girls, and I teach it with my girls around the art of asking questions. So the drill goes like this. What you do is I'm going to ask Brandon a question, and Brandon's going to respond by asking me a question. That's it, and then we're just going to ask questions with questions. So, you ready?
Yep. Let's go.
One to me. See, I started asking him a question, and the very first thing he came back is he said, yes, he gave me an answer.
Damn.
So, off you go.
Played this before.
Over to you.
Over to you.
Start a question.
Oh, okay. How's the weather today?
Why have you got green shoes on?
I like it. Oh, why are you wearing a belt?
Okay, so one to me. Okay, good. It's not as easy as it seems, is it?
No.
See, our conditioning is not to ask questions. Our conditioning is to respond. Okay, good. Why have you got a green belt on?
Why are you wearing that shirt?
Do you always wear pink undies?
Why did you ask that question? Do you like them?
How do you know I like pink undies?
Yeah.
Your question.
You throw me off completely with the pink gun.
So how many of you can see that Brandon's little voice? Look, I was a little bit unfair. But can you see the point? The point is to ask questions with a question. So let's just keep it simple. So what color is your shirt?
What color is yours?
What color is your jeans?
What color are your shoes?
Do you always wear shoes?
Do you always wear glasses?
Do you brush your hair like Gerard?
You caught me again.
So give him a hand. Great job. Thanks, buddy. So can you see? It seems simple. So what happens is when I say learn how to ask questions, what comes up? Yeah, I can ask questions. But the reality is this. When you get put under pressure, what's the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to default to your worst habit. You know, one of the things I learned from listening to an Australian Olympic swimmer, a guy called Kieran Perkins, is I listened to a CD that he did, and on the CD he said this. He said the reason he practiced so much in the swimming pool was not essentially to get fitter, but it was to be able to default to his worst habit, which he wanted to be perfection. So if he practiced his stroke over and over and over again, when he got under pressure, when he was on the blocks for the Olympic Games, he defaulted to his worst habit, which if he practiced correctly was perfection. So what will happen is if you practice and practice questions, when someone asks you something, you default to asking a question. So now this is a drill to get you to reprogram this little voice, to reprogram your brain. You know, how many of you understand that we have an ability to recondition our brain? Most people are not trying to recondition it. They just take what they think as what they think, instead of questioning, why do I think the way I think? And is the way I think and act creating the results I want, or should I change the way I think by reconditioning where I'm at? So in order to get good at asking questions, you need to recondition. The way you recondition, you practice. You practice and you do drills that allows you to be able to create a different habit. So when you're under pressure and someone starts asking you questions, you default to asking questions. Now, what I'm saying is you're not going to go and sit in front of a customer and they say, what's your name? And you go, what's your name? Okay, so this is a drill that gets you into the habit of asking questions, and over a process, in the Sales Explosion program, we teach a process that teaches you how to go from asking questions to creating a conversation around questions. But I'll go back to that scenario where you stand in front of a client and the client says, tell me why you're here. Tell me what you've come to sell. So typically what I do is I want to get in their world as quick as possible by asking questions. So what I do is I'd say, great, thank you for having me. So, you know, as I said, my name is Barry. I have a company called Uncovering Greatness. For over 25 years, I've been in sales. For the last 10, I've worked with thousands of individuals and hundreds of businesses around the world in order to help them explode their income and increase their sales. We've got results anywhere from 20% to as much as 300 or 400%. You know, if you don't mind me asking, how many sales guys do you have in your business right now? Whose world am I in? Boom! Straight back into whose world? Back into their world. I've given them just enough about me that they know in order to answer the question, but I'm back in their world, and what do you think they say? They don't sit there and think, well, we asked him about him and now he's asking us about us. Why? Because people are conditioned to tell. So when you ask them that question, so how many sales reps do you have? What I get is I get a response, well, we have 15 sales reps. Excellent, well, you have 15 sales reps. So if you don't mind me asking, how many of them are top performers and how many of them are bottom performers? And they'll tell me. They'll go, great. So why are the top performers good? And then I'll ask, why are the bottom performers so bad? What are you doing in order to equip the bottom performers, change the bottom performers? If your bottom performers could become mid-level performers and the mid-level performers, what would happen to your business? Whose world am I in? So it doesn't matter what you're selling, doesn't matter what business you're in, it's always about getting in somebody else's world. You know, right now this might be a little bit controversial if you want, but you know, one of the reasons you look at Donald Trump, one thing Donald Trump can do is what? He can sell. He can sell. And if you watch him, he sells by he gets into other people's worlds and then he speaks about what they want. Does that make sense? He can sell. Now, one of the things I've learned about a guy like Robert Kiyosaki is Robert Kiyosaki can sell. My mentor, Blaise Singer, they can sell. You watch all great leaders, they sell. You know, Martin Luther King could do what? He could sell. He asked questions of people. He could sell. So recondition the way you connect with people by learning how to ask questions. You know, for some of you, a little voice is going to say, I'm not going to do that. That's a stupid little exercise. Well, that's okay. You know, but if you play soccer and you want to learn how to take free kicks like Ronaldo, he didn't just waltz up and take a free kick like that, did he? He practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced hours and hours and hours in order to create that perfection. And we all have to start somewhere. So I'm going to encourage you, if you really want to learn how to get good at this, do that little drill. Ask questions. When you learn how to ask questions, you start getting in other people's worlds and you start making it all about them. When you make it all about them, you find common ground. So there's a couple of tools that you can add to it, or a couple of pointers that I can give you, is that when you're getting in somebody else's world, when you're talking about them, you always want to be interested. Because when you're interested, you're talking about who? You're talking about them. When you're interesting, who you're talking about? All about me. I'm interesting. Look at me. How many of you like talking to people that just like talking to themselves, or about themselves? We don't like that. Why? Because we're geared to talk about who? Talk about ourselves. So if you are truly interested in people and truly interested, authentically truly interested, and you can get into their world, ask them the right questions, they'll give you the answers that you're looking for. Be interested, not interesting. And then the other one is this. Be impressed, not impressive. Be impressed, not impressive. Because when you're being impressed, again, who are you talking about? You're talking about them. When you're being impressive, who are you talking about? You're talking about yourself. You know, look at me, look what I've done, look at my business, look how many customers I have, look how good I am, look what I drive, look what I fly, look what I wear. That's all about who? It's all about you. That might be entertaining for a while. But in the art of sales, people are interested in how you can help them, not how you helped yourself. So be impressed. So you want to be interested, you want to be impressed. Find something that makes you impressed. So when I talk to people, one of my big interests is entrepreneurs in business. So if I find someone that said, you know, if I say to them, how long have you had your own business? And they say to me, yeah, I've been in business for over 10 years. I go, wow, that is impressive. I am impressed. Why? Because the global statistics say something like 95% of all small to medium businesses will fail within 10 years. Which means that that person has a business that is in the top 5%. That is impressive. Does that make sense? If I'm talking about sport, I'll find something that I am impressed about with that person. You know, what level of sport did you play? What did you do? Wow, that's interesting. Be interested and impressed. And then a key tool is this. Is the art of verification. What is verification? When I verify something, when you verify something, what are you doing?
Authenticating.
You?
Confirmation.
Authenticating it, confirmation, confirming it. Okay, so a verification is what?
It's a confirmation.
A confirmation. Okay, what else?
Communication.
A communication. Okay, good, good. Checking. Okay, good. So what have I just done? Some of you didn't even realize it. What did I do automatically? I verified. When you said authenticate, I said authenticate. Okay, so simple term of verification is you repeat back what the person says to you. Now, what I'm not encouraging you to do, don't go sit in their face and they say, my name's Barry, my name's Barry. Okay, it's not what I'm saying, is in the course of the conversation. Excellent, so what I'm hearing you say is that that verification means to authenticate something. Would that be correct? When you verify something, what does it let somebody know that you're doing?
That you are actually interested.
Subconsciously that you're interested and that you are listening. That you're interested and you're listening. And when people know you're listening, it becomes all about who? It becomes all about them. How many of you ever sat with somebody that is a good communicator, but you know that they're a good listener? They ask you a question, and then they sit and they listen. And one of my favorite sayings is this. I think it comes from Brian Tracy. Might be wrong, but it said whoever said it said this: most people ask a question and sit waiting to speak, when you should ask a question and sit, wait, shut up, and listen. You know, how many of you know that when you ask a question, you have a little voice in your head going, I need to tell them this, I need to tell them that. You know, how many of you have seen people in a group that don't listen, and you watch them, the group's talking and they can't wait to say something, and they're doing this, ready to speak. They have the need to say something instead of just standing and being able to listen. A gift in sales, learn how to listen. Ask a question, sit and listen. Turn off the little voice. Wait for the answer and then work with the answer. But in order to do that, you're going to have to practice. You're going to have to practice. It's not a conditioned skill. It's a conditioned, we are conditioned to tell, not to ask questions. Does that make sense? How many of you are learning something? This, if you understand this, it'll change the way you communicate with people. Absolutely. Spend time asking questions and getting in their world, making it all about them. When you do that, you find common ground. When you find common ground, you've built rapport and you have grounds for a relationship. When you have grounds for a relationship, they'll tell you the things that you need to know in order to find out if they are potential customers. In order to find out, when we go back to the sales cycle, in order to find out if they, right at the beginning of the sales cycle, if they are people with money, if they are your target market, if you ask them the right questions, they'll tell you. Does that make sense? So when you're asking questions, is a core thing that you need to be uncovering. And I'll cover that just now.